I wanted to play a little word association with some names. So I'm going to throw out some names and you tell me what you think about the person.
Okay.
Miles Kennedy.
Miles Kennedy. Miles is great. Miles is, he's been actually sort of a boon to my whole sort of career at this point because he's so laid back and he's so easygoing and he's so easy to work with that I'm still waiting for the other shoe to drop. You know, but he's very cool. He and I are probably very similar in personality too, so we get along really well.
Joe Perry, talking about the sloppy guitar work on Rocks.
Oh, Joe's great. Joe's got to be one of the coolest characters that I know, and you know, there's not enough nice things I can say about Joe. No, he's a great guy. He's really straight up, you know, very straightforward and doesn't mince words. He's as rock and roll as they come. He's true blue, you know. He's not a poser in any way, shape, or form. And he's very cool, you know. And he's somebody who does manage to go out and shop and likes it. I envy him for that.
Over the weekend, I rewatched the Lemmy documentary and saw you take part in that. So tell me a little bit about Lemmy.
Lemmy, well, you know, he's sort of like, you know, all my heroes are all the dark horses, of course, right? And Lemmy is just one of those guys that I took to. Oh, you know, I first fell in love with Motorhead in like 1980, 1981, whatever that was, and then saw Motorhead play a couple times, and he just has this formidable presence, you know. And then I went to go see I guess it was 1986, went to go see Motorhead in a studio in London, and tough as a guy as he is, he's another one of those people who's got a great heart, very sincere, and very straightforward. And you know, a lot of these guys who seem so sinister on the surface, and they tend to be a little bit, but they're actually, you know, really genteel people at the same time.
Does that go for Alice Cooper, who was somebody else I was going to ask you about?
Somebody else is just very much like that, yeah.
Paul Rogers.
Paul's, yeah, well, I mean, hands down one of the greatest rock and roll singers that ever lived, and just fucking amazingly influential guy, you know, and a really hard worker, a lot of integrity, Paul.
I went down a list of some of the interesting people that you've collaborated with. Old Dirty Bastard.
Old Dirty Bastard. He was just a nut. You know, I mean, I don't know, you know, how many adjectives I can put in front of that or after it, but yeah, he was definitely out there.
Quentin Tarantino the same way?
Quentin's fun. I mean, you know, Dirty Bastard's fun in a different way, but Quentin's great. I don't know Quentin that well. We've only hung out. I did some music for one of his movies that he produced a while back, and we got drunk together. And he's brilliant, you know. And I haven't even started peeling that onion as far as his genius is concerned. But he's a lot of fun to hang out with. He's great to talk to if you want to talk about movies or TV or
he's
commercials.
He's a big music guy too,
and he
right?
loves music, and his scoring abilities are not. When I say scoring, like his choice for music for his movies is
some of the best
unprecedented.
soundtracks that have ever been released for film.
This is.
Yeah, see?
Yeah.
What about Ozzy? Everybody's got a Ozzy story.
Is this what we're going to do? I'm just going to name names?
No. I have two more. I'm
Okay,
finishing with the girls.
All right.
I'm finishing with the girls.
All right. No, okay. Ozzy is another guy who I've been friends with for a long time, who is one of the, you know, sort of big icons and one of my heroes that I grew up listening to and have been fortunate enough to be friends with. And I just did a tour with him. And that guy, there's nobody who can command a crowd like Ozzy. There's no single individual who can get up in front of 60,000 people and make them do his you know, everything that he tells them to do, they do. It's amazing to behold. But another guy that's just really sweet and down to earth, and on stage he's one thing, and off stage he's the same thing.
One of my favorite,
actually.
One of my favorite songs from your first solo record was the song you do with Fergie,
right.
Which when I heard you were doing it seemed really kind of weird, but then
everybody
when I heard
freaked out.
It was brilliant.
Yeah.
And the video is pretty cool too.
Well, the thing with Fergie is when I got asked to do a Black Eyed Peas gig for a benefit I don't know, some, like 8 years ago or 7 years ago or something. And I wasn't real familiar with the Black Eyed Peas, but it was for this music education in schools fundraiser.
And you
so
do
I
a
was
lot
like,
of
cool,
philanthropic work.
So
when
I
you're
went
not
down
on
there
tour.
and I saw Will and I'd met him before. Anyway, I went to sound check and they said, okay, Fergie's going to come up and we're going to do some rock and roll stuff. And I was like, okay. So I assumed from hearing Black Eyed Peas that Fergie, I didn't even know who she was really, but I assumed if she's a singer, I figured she was black or Puerto Rican just from the delivery that she did.
She's got a lot of soul in her voice.
But she walked in, it was this blonde chick from Orange County. and so she goes, well, I want to do a medley of Zeppelin songs. And I was just, at that point, I was completely confused as to what the fuck was going on. And she sang the shit out of these Zeppelin songs, and the most memorable to me, because it was one of my favorite Zepp songs, was Black Dog. And she just belted the shit out of that. So we became friends after that. And I was the only one that really sort of stopped and was like, she's got a great rock voice, So, fast forward however many years, and I'm doing this song, wrote this song, which was like basically, it was called the stripper song for this movie that I scored, because a piece of that music is in that movie. And so when I decided to make a whole song out of it, I thought I should have Fergie sing this. It's like immediate, But when word got out that she was doing it, I was doing something with her, people freaked.
Yeah, I didn't know what to make of it.
Yeah,
but it's so good.
Yeah, but I knew that she would kick ass on that. I'd love to do something else with her, but schedules permitting and so on.
And hopefully she won't stab you in the chest this time.
No, that was my wife's idea. Those two got together and came up with that whole concept. So.
The last name I wanted to ask you about, who is probably the strangest friend that I would think you have in your arsenal, Betty White. How cool is Betty White?
Betty's awesome. Betty, okay, I had the hots for Betty when she was on the Mary Tyler Moore Show, right? Not, in that sort of like, have you ever seen her when she was like 20?
She was hot.
She was amazing looking. Anyway, but she has that very randy, frisky kind of personality, so and so. But I'm on the board at the zoo in LA, and she's on the board. Now she's actually the president.
The commercials
board
you
of
guys
directors.
did for the Reptiles were awesome.
Yeah, so we the zoo asked us, we're sort of the resident celebrity types or whatever, these famous people, whatever, and they asked us to do these commercials together, and I was like, with Betty, I would do it, So for the opening of the Reptile, this place called the Lair that which is really awesome, anybody that's watching, and so it was fun, we hung out all day, and she tells some of the nastiest jokes, and she's, I mean, I went to I think it was her 90th birthday.
Yeah, it was her 90th
birthday. She parties. I mean, she's, any girl
drinks
worth her
vodka,
salt
right?
would be worth to use her as a role model.